We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Friday and welcome to another live Vikings Uncensored. We are on the road once again this week. Well, not Lance and I, but the team is on the road again once again this week. Heading to Music City to take on the Tennessee Titans and one Will Miracle Whip Levis. But before we get into the preview of the game, we got a couple of news things we're going to hit. Then we'll let Brunswick do his final wrap on the Jacksonville game. And, of course, after the previews, at the end, of course, we will once again have our predictions segment. So good evening to everybody in the chat. Thank you once again for joining us on a Friday night. And with that, let us get rolling here. How about that? NFC North news. The dumpster fire in Chicago just starts burning bigger and brighter. As this past week, they fired offensive coordinator Shane Waldron. Who
I couldn't have lined that up any better than what I did last week with the bitching about their coordinator over there in Chicago.
Yeah. You know, they fired Luke Getsy last year about this time because he couldn't develop Justin Fields. They brought Waldron in from Seattle, and now 10 weeks into the season, they fire him and make Thomas Brown the interim offensive coordinator. Now, for those of you who follow more than just the Vikings, Thomas Brown is the offensive coordinator who basically fucked up Bryce Young last year in Carolina. So let's get rid of a guy who can't develop a rookie quarterback and replace him with another guy who can't develop a rookie quarterback. So
I love it.
Northvius, good evening. Robert, good evening. Doc, Drew, everybody in there. So glad the Bears are in our division. Absolutely.
With that being said, now let's not go out and lose against the Bears this year.
Yeah, so we got the Bears next week, so let's not get too caught.
Is it the Bears or the Cardinals next week?
We get the Bears next week.
It is the Bears next week. Okay.
Yeah, because we got 3 straight road games here again. Then also the Bears released guard Nate Davis this week, who, of course, last year had signed him to a 3-year, $30 million contract. So apparently they decided that he's the worst of their issues on a pitiful offensive line. So they released him earlier in the week. Have not heard anything of any interest, any place of him going anywhere, but I don't know. What's your thoughts on Nate Davis?
He's had good seasons. And right now we're kind of hurting at that right guard spot. Granted, you know how much I love Ingram, but granted, he has stepped his game up a little bit in the last couple of weeks. Like you said to me before the show, funny how having somebody that's ready to go right behind you lights a fire under your ass, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, I would be willing to, if I was GM and coach, I'd be willing to take a look at Davis, see what he brings to the table. But I mean, if he's not an upgrade over what we have, then there's no sense of bringing him in either. So
Yeah, I mean, if you want to work him out, fine, but I'm not.
right.
I'm not of the mold that, you know, oh my God, they let him go. We got to go get him. Jared is wondering why you're not wearing your Ingham jersey, Lance.
Yeah,
It's in the wash.
Yeah, right.
It's or did you forget to take it off your treadmill when you sold it and it accidentally got shipped along with it?
Right. Oh, Ed Ingram. That right guard spot's been horrible for a long time, though, Ryno. It really has.
Oh yeah, I mean, we've been talking about that for how damn long. I mean, you had Mike Remmers, you had
all three interior offensive line spots.
Yeah,
have been
I mean,
horrible.
Well, Blake Brandel, to his credit, is doing.
Even his play is starting to dip, though, Ryno.
I mean, he's had a little bit of up and down, but by and large, I mean, for the most part, so far this year, he's been okay. Now, yeah, is his play dipping the last couple of weeks because he no longer has Christian Darrisaw beside him? That's possible.
I mean, that's a good point too. Yeah.
You know, it's hard to say. I mean, you know, maybe once him and Robinson get a little more
chemistry,
play picks back up again. I mean, that, you know,
yeah.
I think it's something that bears watching, but other than that, we made fun of the Bears, so we got that out of the way. Indianapolis Colts going back to Anthony Richardson at quarterback for the rest of the year. Apparently, Joe Flacco was not the be-all, end-all for their offensive woes, so they're going back to the rookie again. So now they're doing that in out. Same thing that Carolina did. You know, they went. Of course, you know, they went and sat Bryce Young, and then he came back. Or when Andy Dalton got in that car accident or whatever that made him come back out, Bryce Young's gone back in and won 2 games in a row now. So
Reisner is back and available, Jer.
Yes, he is. He's on the active roster. KOC with Ingram reminds me how he handled the Madison Chandler situation. What do you wait?
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's a very good point, Drew. I mean, we sat there last year, you know, begging for Ty Chandler to get more run instead of Alexander Madison, and it took, you know, 2/3 of the season before that finally happened.
Speaking of Ty Chandler, he looked pretty good in his spots last weekend when he got the ball.
So, yeah, well, hopefully he's got a little fire lit under his ass, you know, now that he lost the RB2 position.
Akers looking good too.
Yeah, he's had good reps when he's been out there, and you know, a good spell for Aaron Jones when Aaron Jones, you know, has been playing well the entire time as long as we can keep him healthy. Now he was battling some, you know, a little bit of a rib issue this week, but off the injury report, so that's a good sign anyway. But other than that,
at this point in the season, who's not dinged up a little bit? Honestly.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's very true. But the injury report was pretty clean for the Vikings this week. We'll talk about that though in a minute when we get to the game preview. But before we move on to that, we will give Lance's last look at the last week's game, the thrilling 12-7 victory against the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Well, I was wrong in my hot take about 3 receivers getting over 100 yards. That's for sure. The thing is we had no issue moving the ball from 20 to 20, you know, in between the 20s. But once we got down the red zone area or in scoring range, we just had a couple of boneheaded decisions there, and you can't be doing that. I mean, you have to learn from your mistakes, not continue to keep making them.
Yeah.
John Parker Romo coming in, being the hero, scoring all the points in the game. I mean, what a debut. What a debut. I was cheering for him. I'm glad he stepped up, you know, stepped in, stepped up, kicked it through the uprights when called upon. Was enough to go win us the game, literally, in your debut game. So, yeah, hats off to him. Great showing by the defense once again. I'm liking what I'm seeing again. It's just been consistency with this team all around. is what it is. Beginning of the year, our offense came shot out of the cannon, looked great. It's kind of starting to sputter a little bit, but we just need to put it all together. I mean, we escaped Jacksonville with the W, thankfully, and avoided some embarrassment there. But we still have a long ways to go if we want to get to where we want to be. Happy with the win.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing, and I went over this at length on Rants on Monday, but, with the offense had over 400 yards of total offense.
Yeah,
we held the ball for 42 minutes, and all we could scrounge up was 4 freaking field goals. Try saying that 3 times fast.
Yeah, and we left 9 points on the board there in the first half, where we could have field goals as well.
At the very least, yeah, at bare minimum,
at the very least, yeah. So,
but Darnold gets radar lock on Justin Jefferson when he gets down in the red zone, and everybody knows it. And
I don't understand why we can't find some sort of consistency. Why is there so much? I just don't understand. Like, we came out, looked great for the first 5 weeks of the season, and then all of a sudden things are just kind of looking a little bit leaky here and there. So
yeah,
Robert, I agree. Sam needs to use more of his receivers. I think he gets stuck on somebody. I don't know. I don't have the all 22, but from what I can see when I watch the games, is it seems like he gets locked onto somebody and then has issues coming off of those reads.
Every one of his interceptions, he had somebody wide open.
Yeah, and I told you, I said on Sunday, go back and look and see, and see if there's. I guarantee you, on all those interceptions, there's probably somebody running wide open somewhere.
Yep, and there was. Justin Jefferson is typically going to be your first read. Not always, but typically. And he just, for some reason, moving in between the 20s, he's throwing the ball all over the place, to Hawkinson, to Oliver, to Aaron Jones, to
hats off to those tight ends, man. They have came alive. We were asking where that tight end game was earlier on in the season, and DJ Hawkinson comes back and voila, there it is, and it's not just Hawkinson making plays. It's Oliver as well.
Yeah, Josh Oliver has had a very good season so far this year.
So, yeah, tight end game is starting to catch a little bit of a spark. And huge on third downs last week, especially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that one drive, what was it? 4 third down conversions, and Hawkinson had all 4 of them?
Yeah, 3 or 4, on that drive alone. That ended in a field goal.
Yeah. At least it ended in a field goal and not an interception.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Darnold's just got to remember that he has other weapons on the field when he gets down in there close, because that seems like that's where most of his interceptions are coming, is when you start getting, from the 30 and in.
Yeah, and that's kind of what scared me during the preseason, because he was having issues during training camp in the red zone.
Mm-hmm.
That was some of his biggest issues was in the red zone, where, Mr. McCarthy, come next year, he was thriving in the red zone. So I know we're all excited about McCarthy, but we have to live in the present. So,
yeah. Speaking of that, before we get into the preview, of course, Vikings social media lost its collective ever-loving fucking mind this week, because JJ McCarthy had to go back in and have a minor procedure on his surgically repaired knee. So,
yeah, he's still on the timeline to return, though. It doesn't worry me. I mean, get it cleaned up, get him ready to go next year. He'll be ready to go start week 1 next year.
Yep. And if you want a good explanation on what was going on, our buddy Tyler Fornes actually wrote an article on A to Z Sports today. He actually went and talked to an orthopedic surgeon about kind of what this procedure was and stuff like that. And basically, he probably overdid it a little bit in the rehab, and started getting a little bit of swelling or irritation in the knee. So then they went back, basically had to go back in and check, make sure everything was good. And then they gave him an injection of something to help with the inflammation. And that's,
and there's no need to overdo it. If you're JJ McCarthy, just, go with the pace. You got 9 months yet before next season starts. So,
but I mean, the kid is just that much of a competitor. I mean, we all know that. We saw him in college, but yeah, they just gotta it's up to the training staff and the people doing his rehab, to make sure that he's not pushing it too hard.
Norpheus, for sure.
Yeah. It wasn't a surgery. It was, let's just check it out and see what's going on. Yeah, okay, it's fine. Here's a shot and take it easy for a few days and then get back to it again. So, but yeah, you'd think that the poor kid died or something the way social media was going. So,
That's how it always is, though.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, the Vikings social media is the most level-headed, reasonable group of individuals on in the internet. So, it is what it is. We all it was a quiet news week, so we had to have something to freak out about.
Oh,
I
yeah.
guess. But
Yep.
But anything else you want to hit on the Jags game before we move on? Or?
I'm just happy we won. I mean, we needed. That's a game that you got to win. I would have liked to have seen more of a offensive uptake in points, but you walk out with a W, win an ugly game. Good teams win ugly games too. So you take it for what it is, hang it in the W column, and be happy, and move on to the next one.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, that game was a game that a good team should go in there and absolutely wipe the floor with them.
And for as bad as our offense played, as far as when it came to getting points on the board, our defense played outstanding.
Yeah.
So
yeah, they really, other than that one drive, they really had no.
When it comes down to third down, they are a damn good defense getting off the field. So
last week anyway, so let's hope that continues this week. But with that, though, let's move on to this week's matchup as the Vikings head down to Tennessee, Nashville, to take on the Titans. What's that?
Cherry Pepsi to Norpheus is what I was drinking.
Oh, okay. And we got a argument about the Mike Tyson Jake Paul fight going on in the chat room, I see, but
you gotta stick and move.
Yeah. All the best laid plans until somebody gets punched in the mouth. Anyway, back to football.
I don't know. I don't know about JJ having a chase game.
I don't know. That the last time we played the Tennessee Titans, since you brought that up,
great
was
segue.
the breakout game for Justin Jefferson in his rookie season, where he scored his first touchdown and all that. But lost and all that. Of course, the Titans field goal kicker, I forget who it was at that point in time, but kicked like 87 field goals, and they still ended up beating us in that game. But
was a pretty swaggy touchdown for his first touchdown too. In that,
that was the first time we got to see the gritty. He had the two guys kind of run into each other, and all of a sudden he looked back and was like, "Where is everybody?" And then
what a way to start a career.
Yep.
Moss had one like that though too when he started his career. It was a little bit of a bobble for a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a pretty nice catch. And even right then on that catch, I knew that Moss was going to be something special. And with Jefferson too, I mean.
Yep.
And I remember I was talking about this a few years back where when you've seen somebody like Moss play, it's hard to kind of see the greatness that we have now in Jefferson because we've kind of seen it before too,
Yeah. But I mean, and I've made this comparison God knows how many times. There is nobody I've ever seen play football that was more of a freakishly talented athlete than Randy Moss.
Yeah.
But I believe Justin Jefferson is a better complete wide receiver.
Oh, I agree. Yeah.
Moss didn't like to go across the middle. He absolutely hated it. He just wanted to run.
Tree, I think, when it comes to Moss and Jefferson, for sure.
Moss's route tree was a stick.
Yeah, or deep post.
Yeah, just throw it deep and I'll go get it, and Jefferson makes his living across the middle.
Yeah. But, going across the middle is a lot different now than what it was when Moss was playing.
Yeah, I mean, it is. But still, even in today's game, I don't think he would, he just never really showed much of a.
And Moss could fly with that height and just being able to get the wheels going. I mean, he was unstoppable. It's an
Oh, yeah.
arcade game when you played with Moss. So, anyways.
Right. Back to 2024. Injury report, though, looked pretty good for the Vikings. The only player that even received an injury designation this week was edge rusher Gabe Murphy, who is ruled out with his knee. He's still within his 21-day window, so they don't have to make a decision on activating him yet. JJ will break a lot of records. He's pushing them already, Drew. I mean, we get to watch greatness. Minnesota has been blessed over the years watching great wide receivers, and we have the next best one here now. So, for the Titans on the injury report, 2 guys on there, both starters. The most significant one being cornerback L'Jarius Sneed. He has been ruled out. Also, their right tackle Leroy Watson has been ruled out. The guy they've got running for Sneed, Justin Hardy, he's been playing fairly decent, so it hasn't been a ton of drop off. But Watson's backup has been very Ed Ingramish when it comes to his rankings here since he's been last week his rating was like 39.4 in pass protection. So
that Titans defense is no pushover though either.
No, it is not. And that was to I forget who posted it up there earlier, but
Dexter Lawrence gonna play versus the Titans.
Yeah.
Wish. Yeah, with the Giants playing.
What's up with Darnold's injury? He wasn't even on the injury report today, Ant. He was on there earlier this week. Just he did a little something to his hand when he tried to make a tackle on one of those interceptions last week. So he was on, I think, Wednesday. I don't know if I think he might have even been off already yesterday, but he's definitely off today. So, no restrictions there. Highly doubt anyone can out Ingram. We have seen worse here, Ant. So, I mean, Ingram is far from good, yes, but we have had worse as starters. I mean, Willie Beavers, Mike Remmers is right in there. A bunch of these other guys that we brought in that were supposed to be great or at least good, and would have had to improve to be ranked as ass. So
for Naylor to have a breakout game, it's going to be taking some changes on Darnold's part, I believe, or getting back to where he was there at the beginning of the season. September, and now we're going into none of that.
Yes. Sam Vember has not been so good to us so far, but yeah, talking about Naylor, I'd like to see him try to run that double layer play. They ran a couple of times with good success earlier in the year, where they have Jefferson run the short route underneath and clear everybody out.
Yeah.
And then hit Naylor out over the top. I mean, Naylor scored, I think, the first 2 or 3 weeks on that play.
Actually,
I realize you can't run the same play all the time. This isn't Madden, but we haven't seen it for 3-4 weeks.
Well, yeah, you go back to plays though. You go back.
Yeah,
to
it's
plays.
prime. It's prime time. We pull it back out again, I think. But looking at, like we talked about earlier, the Titans defense is no joke. They are actually number 1 in overall yards in the NFL right now. First in overall in passing, 12th in rushing. But they are 29th in interceptions, 27th in sacks, and 30th in pressures. So they don't get home to the quarterback all that much.
Can I say something really quick before I forget this train of thought?
The floor is yours.
I've also noticed that Sam Darnold plays much better when he's faced against the blitz. When teams play coverage against Darnold, he struggles mightily.
Yeah, and the numbers show that. I think some of that is maybe it forces him to get the ball out more, and he's not sitting back there overthinking stuff.
Well, when you blitz somebody, it leaves somebody wide open, and that just
there's that too. Yeah,
before the play develops. But I've noticed when teams play coverage are man-to-man against Darnold, he struggles compared to when they send the extra blitzer.
Yeah, and the numbers show that. I forget, somebody had posted earlier this week on social media that, yeah, he's considerably better when he's blitzed than when he's not. But, it regardless, he's got to figure this stuff out. And he holds the ball for quite a while, for longer than he really should as it is. He should have time to.
Waiting for the guy, whoever he's looking at, he's waiting for him to pop open when he should be looking at
when
the
he should, when he should be scanning through, his second and third reads. And most of the time there's somebody open on that second or third read.
The thing is, the talent is here that guys, I can guarantee you almost every play there's somebody getting wide open. The talent is here for that to happen. You got Jordan Addison with the most time of separation in the league right now as far as his coverage goes, and he's not getting balls. You can't tell me that Hawkinson isn't getting open now that but it's showing. He had a good game last week.
Right.
But I guarantee you, every play that we run, somebody in the pass scheme is getting open. It's just Darnold not getting to that read or just not getting them the ball.
Yeah, it is. And
too much talent outside on the edges with Jefferson, Addison, Naylor, and speed. And then you got Hawkinson and Oliver, who's emerging as a great pass catching tight end as well.
Yep.
And then Jones can catch passes out of the backfield.
Yep. And that's the biggest thing. Yeah. Drew's got a great number here. Jordan Addison only has 33 total targets this year. That's like basically 3 a game.
Yeah, and then yet he leads the league in separation as far as.
Yeah, but it's easy to get separation when they they're not throwing the ball at him and they're going someplace else. But that
our Darnold's overthrowing him.
Yeah, on a couple of those times, that he did throw him at him.
That's a great comment, Sarah.
Good evening, Sarah. I love it when Sarah joins the show. She always comes with the great comments. But maybe that would be the thing that works. I don't know that the NFL would allow that, but it would be funny as hell to see everybody out there that's eligible to touch the ball be wearing 18. But it is mind-boggling as to why, if they're going to be double covering Justin Jefferson, that means at least one other guy has got single coverage on him someplace.
And Jefferson is double covered every play, sometimes triple covered.
Right. Now, if you do catch a time when he's under single coverage,
the receivers the ball. I'm not trying to knock on Darnold here. I'm glad that he's taken us to 7-2 record. He's been a part of that, a big part of that. But the thing is, he can be better. I want Darnold to be better.
Well, we know he can be better because he was better, the first 4 games of the season.
And you know what? His completion percentage has been very, very, very commendable this year. It's just those 5 sprinkled in. Boneheaded decisions during the game.
This comment here of Sarah's is exactly the point you were talking about there a minute ago. The Jaguars knew that he's worse against just regular coverage than he is against the blitz. So they didn't blitz him.
Yeah, I just brought that up. Great fucking comment.
Yeah, the more time he has, the worse he's got. That's absolutely right. So
quick pass game. We'll take care of that.
Yep. And, after the bye and after that loss to the Rams, O'Connell had talked about going to more of a, bringing some more tempo and some quick passing and stuff in here. Now, we did it a little bit, but then it kind of, it's like one of those, a lot of the stuff. And again, this is one of the gripes I do have with Kevin O'Connell. We have stuff that works and we go away from it and don't go back and try it again. It's
my keys later on too. Yeah.
I mean, at some of that time, you just got to go play big boy football and say, here it is. We're going to keep beating you with it until
you can't just be finesse. You can't just be finesse. Sometimes you got to get physical. Sometimes you got to get dirty. Not as far as penalties go, but you know what I mean.
No.
Get tough.
But yeah, you got to get out there and you got to out tough people. And you got to, punch it down their throats. And we've talked about this many times. I know Drew and Ted have talked about it over on their show, about this gentleman's game thing that O'Connell seems to want to do. it's weird because for the fact that Kevin O'Connell was a quarterback, and offensive guy, you'd think that he'd want to just keep putting up points as much as he could. He's got, with that, he's got more of the defensive coach mindset like Zimmer did, just score enough points to win.
I don't know so much that it's a gentleman's game with Kevin O'Connell as much as it is having a drive and then just not knowing what to do as far as the play caller goes, what to call when it's needed. Like, head scratching plays in the red zone, like just losing your tempo as a play caller. I just have a feeling it has more to do with that than being a gentleman's game. He wants to put those points on the board, but he's not orchestrating correctly when it comes to the times when we're in scoring position.
Well, and then you get a lot of
that goes back to it goes back to the quarterback coach relationship as well.
Yeah. But then we get into a lot of those times too, where we have 3rd and short and we're spreading everybody out wide, putting Sam in the shotgun with an empty backfield.
Yeah, that's what yeah. When the run's been working the whole drive.
Yeah. In those short yardage things, if you cannot get 1 yard, basically on 3rd down, probably add 4th down in there, especially if you're on the other side of the 50, then what the hell are you doing? You got to have a running game that can get that much. Yeah, that's exactly right, Sarah. We talked about that a little bit earlier. Yep. You know what? He's money in between the 20s, and then once he gets down, or at least from the 20 to the 30, and once he gets down inside the 30-yard line into the red zone, then that's where the problems start firing up. But all
right, back to what you were at in your notes of the defense.
Yeah. Looking at some of the guys they got on defense, Jeffrey Simmons, one of the guys that was the center of a lot of rumors for guys that the Vikings might target prior to the trading deadline. One of our draft crushes from a little while back here, Tavondre Sweat, that massive mountain of a man in there at nose tackle. Beyond that, they've got Sebastian Joseph Day and Harold Landry are their edge rushers.
It's a good disciplined unit all around.
The back end.
And that's what's been keeping this team in the games is their defense this year.
Yeah, it absolutely has, because we know it has. Sure as hell hasn't been Will Levis, but
or Mason Rudolph.
Yeah. Yeah, we did, Sarah, and that's the thing. We know that this team is capable of it. We got to get back to being able to do that again. It's just, it's a collection of things. If we're not shooting ourselves in the foot with procedure penalties, or we have a big play and then it gets called back because of a hole, or Sam Darnold throws 3 freaking interceptions in the red zone. I mean,
and all these turnovers aren't all on Darnold, but
most of them are on Darnold.
But most of them are. But I mean, this is something's going back to last year as far as turnovers go. You can't fucking give the team the other ball. You just can't. And then act like it's like you're going to make up for it all the time. You can't rely on your defense every week to win you the game. Eventually, your offense has to go out there and build some sort of consistency,
Right.
And right now, it's since halftime against Green Bay, I've been wondering what's going on with this offense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we put numbers up. We're there, but it's the thing. It's these self-inflicted, fucking stupid errors that end up costing us. The penalties, the turnovers. Trying to get too cute on a 3rd and short.
Especially when the points are legitimately almost already there, barring a field goal.
Yeah. I mean, that one drive last week where we had that 3rd and short, and Sam ended up taking a 7 or 8 yard sack that knocked us back out of field goal range. I mean,
there was another thing that I didn't really care for about the coaches where there was a penalty called, and we could have taken the yards, but we declined the penalty. And I think we were on defense.
I mean, some of that it doesn't bother me as much as it's more of a situational thing. If it's, if you're going to be 2nd and 25 or 3rd and 13. I mean, I think you take the 3rd and 13, but over the years we have shown, and maybe not so much with Flores, but you and I both have seen it countless times where 3rd and 25 or 4th and 17, and then all of a sudden they have 18 turnovers. Four Vikings starting linebackers have 18 by themselves, or the sacks. Yeah, that's telling right there. Like I said, that they don't get pressure and they don't get sacks. So it's and like we talked about earlier, the stat you brought up, Lance, about Darnold not being near as good when he's not being pressured and blitzed. We may see that again this week where he's, they're just going to sit back and play coverage. And
what you need to do then is lean on the run and sprinkle in that play action game, and that will go a long way in helping.
Yeah, I mean, you get Aaron Jones going, and you start hitting Hawkinson underneath. And then when you're doing that, then it's going to start pulling those DBs up a little bit, and then you can hit Addison or Jefferson up over the top, or Naylor or whoever. But that's the thing, and it's when it comes down to it, I really don't care who gets the ball, who gets the stats, who gets whatever, as long as they do it. And as we quit making these stupid penalties. I mean, we made the comment when we were talking about this team, the team back in the preseason, that there were going to be some weeks that we were going to have to rely on the defense to win us a game. They've had to do it a couple times this year. Last week was one of them.
Yep.
I'm hoping this week isn't one of those where I think the defense will be able to hold their own easily enough against.
I think we got our answer to that whole Blake Cashman thing too that I was talking about a couple weeks ago. Yeah, having Blake Cashman back is definitely helping out this defense.
Yeah, it does. And I don't think it's a coincidence that the 2 worst games that the defense had all season were the 2 games that Blake Cashman did not play.
Would have had 2 sacks this weekend if it wasn't the face mask on the second one there.
Yeah, Titans defense isn't a 79. Yeah, and that's true, Drew. I mean,
they play better first half football than second half football. So I mean, there's that for sure.
Yeah, there is. But and I think there can be hay made against these guys if Sam doesn't. Yeah, hopefully he got all them stupid interceptions out of his system last week. But
it's going to come down to coaching and quarterback play this week, I believe.
Yeah, Cam Robinson cleaned up his crap, gets no penalties on Sunday. Some of that I'm just going to chalk up to the fact that he was it's still fresh in his mind going back and playing his old team, a week after he left. Nympha, good evening. Filipino fan club in the house, as always. Thank you again for watching. But yeah, Will Levis, I don't trust him to be able to do much of anything against.
If I'm the defense this weekend, I'm looking at playing Will Levis, I'm licking my chops.
Yeah, I think Flores is going to be dialing up pressure early, often. Now let's hope that we can do that, because we didn't pressure Mac Jones all that much, especially early last week.
Well, we got to him when we needed it.
We did, but it's. I think a guy like Will Levis, you can unleash that.
I'll take the good with the. I mean, if we're controlling the tempo of the game on defense, but we're not getting sacks, I'll take that.
Yeah,
sacks are nice. Sacks are nice. Don't get me wrong, but if we're able to control the tempo like we did last week against Jacksonville as far as defense goes, and the week prior against the Colts, I'm not going to bitch too much about pressures or sacks.
But I mean, the thing about getting the sacks and getting the pressures and the knockdowns and stuff, especially with a young quarterback like Levis, you get them off their game, and then, like to Drew's comment here, he's going to start turning the ball over. I mean,
that we've had great games against we've talked about it the last few weeks. Great games against these younger quarterbacks that can't handle.
And this is another prime opportunity right here. So Byron Murphy. I mean, I can't say enough about how he's been playing the last few weeks. I mean, he's our best cornerback right now.
Yeah, he started off slow, but man, he's caught fire the last.
He's had what, interceptions in 3 straight games,
3
4
or
straight
4
games.
weeks. Last 3 or 4 games, yeah.
You know, and
he's our best corner right now.
Yeah, I would agree with that. You know, he's back at his natural slot position, and he's been making plays when he needs to.
And lockdown, shutdown plays, dagger plays for the defense's part.
Yeah,
when we need
it. When you need a crucial stop. Yeah,
punching out a fumble when we needed it. I mean, at the end of a game.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, Murph has been great this season.
Yep, and good point, Cam Bynum as well. I mean, he's had a couple of game clinchers this week. You know, or this year. Last week was no exception. But one guy I do want to give a shout out to, because you don't hear his name at all, and with the position he plays, that's a good thing, is Shaq Griffin.
Yeah.
You know, you see Gilmore out there, you see Byron Murphy making plays and stuff, but half the time I forget Shaq Griffin's on the field because you don't hear him called any, you know.
Yeah, they're not throwing the ball his way.
They're not throwing the ball at him. So I mean, he's doing something right back there. You know, there's
that pass defense has really stepped it up since our last loss against the Rams.
They have.
They've came back around, thankfully. They must have heard me talking about them not having any juice. It must have really invigorated their souls, I'm sure.
Yeah. Now, with all that being said, I mean, Titans got a couple of decent wide receivers. I mean, Tyler Boyd and Calvin Ridley are their starters. I mean, they both had their moments in the past. They're not
number 2s and number 3s.
Yeah, they're not Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson by any means, but
they don't really have a true one over there in Tennessee.
Yeah, like I said, both Tyler Boyd and Ridley, they're both, like you said.
I mean, this defense should be holding this offense that we're playing against on Sunday to very, very low score.
I would think so.
Score game.
Their run game, no Derrick Henry anymore.
Pollard is hot and cold.
Yeah. So I mean, he's somebody you got to respect. He's not the guy he was a couple years ago in Dallas. I don't think
he's not a load. He's not a load to bring down, and it seems like the guys that are a little bit more of a load to bring down are the ones that we have problems against. And if we can get hands on him, I think we can contain him. So,
yeah. And Drew, to the point we were just talking about. Yeah, the number one wide receiver they did have, DeAndre Hopkins. They traded to Kansas City before the deadline. So, DeAndre Hopkins not what he once was. Of course, once he gets to Kansas City, then
you could still get it
starts
done,
making him.
He can. He's one of those rare breeds that has had good longevity in his career.
Yeah, I've always liked Hopkins. He was a guy that I was pounding the table for the Vikings to draft back when he came out. But yeah, other than that,
very Fitzgerald-like, very Fitzy-like.
Yeah, I mean he's been a guy that's gone out there and he's just gotten shit done, and he's good, he's solid, he's reliable. He's has struggled with some injuries and stuff now the last few years, but anyway, with that, why don't we roll into the keys to the game and what we think that the Vikings must do in order to walk out of Nashville with a win on Sunday. So we'll start with you, Lance. Hit them off.
I got 5 more keys this week for us to talk about. So my first key, obviously, is take advantage of playing a Will Levis-led Titans team. I mean, our defense, like we just talked about, should be able to hold Will Levis to very minimal at all impact in this game. Hopefully. I think a lot of us have seen Will Levis play, and we kind of know what he is and what he'll do, and the mistakes that he's prone to making. So I mean, you just got to take advantage of playing that Will Levis led Titans. Not saying overlook the Titans or nothing like that, but go in there and set an example. So number 2, limit the penalties. Can't be letting the penalties dictate your drives on offense and taking you out of. I mean, Cam, like we said, we give him a little bit of a break by going back to Jacksonville and playing in Jacksonville, but he had his worst game, second game, following up his very commendable step in that Colts game. He kind of followed it up with a little bit of a clunker against his former team in Jacksonville.
In the last two games, he said his best game as a Viking and his worst game as a Viking.
Exactly. So yeah, limit the penalties pre-snap, especially. Can't be setting yourself up for success if you're getting knocked back in yards. So, especially when you have a big gainer and then it gets called back by a penalty of whatever it might be, or these offensive procedure penalties are crazy this year in this league. I don't know. That's just my opinion, but
unless you're the right tackle for Kansas City, then you can move right. Early on every snap and he doesn't get called.
Every snap you can have false start and they won't call it. So, number 3, once again, keep Sam clean. Something that can help is establishing the run and really leaning in. Right. Keep Sam clean. Something that can help that is establishing the run and really leaning into it. The team needs to find some sort of positive consistency as a whole, as a team. I'm going to each week knowing what your team's going to bring to the table and execute. Level out, as a team. Get to a nice playing level and just stake there and go. Too many ups and downs. Play to your strengths and to your abilities, like we talked about earlier in the show. Number 4, limit the head scratching play calls. What has happened to the creative, well-timed play calls in the red zone that we had earlier in the season? Like where you bring Naylor in just between the tackle and guard and shoot him up between the middle and a post route there. What happened to those creative play calls that I was really championing for earlier on in the season? I haven't seen much of that lately. Take what the defense is giving you. If something is working, keep going back to it, like Ryno said earlier in the episode. And five, take care of the fucking football. Take care of the ball. Quit giving it to the defense. And with that, if we can adhere to these 5 keys, we're gonna win the game. So, in my opinion,
yeah, I think it's pretty simple. I mean, you laid it out pretty damn well on your points there. I mean, my biggest thing is Sam Darnold has got to see the field. He cannot just keep this radar lock stuff and do like he did last week. We throw 3 interceptions against the Titans this week. I mean, you could lose the damn game because their defense is good enough to where. But so Sam's got to limit the bonehead move. I mean, Sam Darnold is what he is. To Sarah's point earlier, he's something he's always had issues with.
He can be. He's had good games and teased what he's capable of.
Well, yeah, he has. He's good teams. He's fully capable of doing it, but just as easily, he's fully capable of throwing a stinker like he did last week.
Good point. If he could just level out, somehow, some way, we were able to rein in Case Keenum in 2017. That's neither here nor there, but it can be done.
Yeah, well, and I can live with one Sam Darnold throw a game.
I can too.
But when you start the ball over more than one, if you turn the ball over more than once, then that's a problem.
Yes.
And if you're doing it when you're trying to be aggressive and that's fine, but don't give up the sure catch over here because Justin Jefferson's over here and I got to throw it to Justin Jefferson in the red zone.
Sometimes you got to take what's given to you.
Yeah.
So even if it's a check down, 3-yard check down, give it up. Maybe you'll go get 10 yards.
No, I mean, I'm not advocating for the Kirk Cousins throw a 3-yard
check
down on 4th and 10 kind of thing, but
Broncos team, but yeah, I mean, sometimes you just got to take it if it's there.
Right.
So,
but yeah, my second point, get on Will Levis early, pressure him, knock him down, sack him. I mean, our edge rushers should be able to get 2 or 3 sacks this week easily.
If you can rattle Will Levis, he's going to give that ball up.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because if you get to him, especially early, it's going to be a long day for Mr. Levis. I mean, that mayonnaise is going to go bad in a quick hurry. And when you do that, then he's going to start making that mistakes, and he's going to open things up for Murphy, Byron, Bynum, Harrison Smith, those guys lurking out there in that secondary.
Gink's been waiting a few weeks now.
Gink hasn't had a pick six for a while. This week would be a great time for another one of those.
Hell of a sack against Mac Jones last week. Holy shit!
Yeah, he just freaking
leveled him.
Walked in there and boom.
He's lucky. He's not like a dirty guy. But I mean, if he wanted to get a lick on him there, he could have.
Yeah.
A nice heavy lick, but I commend him for backing up or holding off a little bit there. Even though he still
he still blew him up pretty good. But yeah, that's what you need to do to Levis once or twice.
I think Gink was so surprised he got there so quick and so clean that he just didn't even realize it. I'd
be more than happy with that too, Drew. Metellus hasn't had an interception for a while, so this would be another prime week for that. The other thing, and I say it every week, limit the stupid mistakes. Beyond Darnold fixing his problem, those procedure penalties and stuff.
What the fuck's a clean game, Ryno?
Well, we had, what was it, 2 weeks ago there, we had a game against the Colts. We only had 2 penalties. If we can go through with only 2 penalties, I'm satisfied.
Oh, if we can go without any turnovers, I'd be fucking happy too.
Oh yeah, I'd be absolutely ecstatic with no turnovers. But that's the thing. It's just, we got to clean stuff up. And if we clean stuff up, this team has already shown that they can play with anybody. I mean, we've taken Detroit closer than anybody other than the one loss they had at the beginning of the year.
Speaking of which, Jared Goff threw 5 interceptions last week and still won.
Yeah, he did. So that made everybody feel a whole lot better. But yeah, we talked about that a little bit earlier too. That I think you might have been the one who brought it up, that Jacksonville only blitzed him once last week. I don't look for the Titans to blitz him much at all. Now, if he starts getting in a rhythm early and starts picking them apart, then they're going to probably have to. Who's the fattest guy on the defense? We need a fat guy touched it. It would probably be
Taki Tiamani.
Taki would be the guy.
Taki or Phillips.
LDR maybe.
LDR, he's a little bit bigger, but I mean, I think Taki or Phillips are probably a little bit bigger than LDR.
LDR is he's a little shorter. He's more bowling ballish, but any of those guys up front. Yeah, it'd be nice to see a fat guy touchdown. We haven't had one of them for a while either, but
I think the last fat guy touchdown we had was Joseph on the sideline with the oxygen mask on.
And that's been a long time ago. Is Taki on is Taki on IR? I don't remember if he is.
No, I had heard nothing about that.
Well, he was hurt there for a little bit. I don't remember.
No, but I don't think he's on IR.
Yeah, I thought he was back, but I could be wrong. LDR is around 300 pounds. Yeah, he's a load. He's not super huge, but yeah, I want to see that interior defensive line start getting some pressure too, because we're not doing that. Harrison Phillips bust through once in a great while.
He did make an impact with the turnover last week.
Yeah, he did. But, and I guess let me rephrase there, it's not that they're not doing anything. They are kind of holding in
run
that.
Defense is amazing this year.
Yeah, the run defense has been
we're
good.
Number 1 in the run defense now. I think we're number 1 in run defenses now.
And we're right up there if we're not. But
yeah, I think
I believe it. Yeah. Now that I remember when I was looking at stats earlier, yeah, we are number 1 in run defense. And I think we're like 7 or 8 in pass defense. So, but those are my main keys. They're pretty short, pretty sweet and simple, but it just go like the title of the show tonight, take care of business and go do your jobs. And we're going to walk out of there with a win. A nice, tasty,
I've been asking for this for weeks, but a nice, tasty 3-score win would be fucking fantastic to really temper us out, level us out as fans.
Yeah. I would agree. But since we're talking about that, why don't we roll into our weekly prediction segment, where again we not only look at the Vikings game for the upcoming weekend, but also
Taki is on IR.
Oh, okay, he's got ankle, all right. But we also look at our rivals in the NFC North, and there is a pretty big game coming up this weekend with that. So we'll hit that in a minute. But let's start off with Our last week opponent, the Jacksonville Jaguars, going into the Motor City to take on the Detroit Lions.
Oh man, I would love nothing less than Detroit to lay an egg here against Jacksonville. But I just, like I said last week, Detroit, they're the team to beat in my opinion right now in the entire league, even over Kansas City. So I'm gonna continue to pick Detroit until they fall, or until they actually play somebody worth picking against. So I just don't see Jacksonville going in to win. I would love it. I would absolutely laugh my ass off, and it would be great. But Detroit's gonna win against Jacksonville.
Yeah, I mean, for all but about 3.5 quarters last week, Detroit tried to lay an egg against Houston, but unfortunately the Texans.
I knew that Detroit offense was good enough to make that comeback happen.
Yeah, and it was the thing. The first, like I said, 3.5 quarters, the Texans had their number, but that last quarter that
third quarter was insane as far as interceptions go.
Yeah, it seemed like every time the ball went in the air, it got picked off. But I think Trevor Lawrence is trending towards playing Ant. I'm not sure that. I think he's still questionable from what I was reading today, so that puts it up in the air a little bit. If it's Trevor Lawrence, they stand a little bit better chance. Now, that being said, as bad as Jacksonville is, they tend to keep it close against everybody. So
they do.
I think this will be a little bit. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me one bit to see Detroit hang a 50 burger on them. But it also wouldn't surprise me one bit to see it be a, 24-17 game or something like that too. That could come down to the final possession kind of a thing. But yeah, I mean, I'd be insane to pick Jacksonville against here. I'd love to.
Exactly. I would. That would make my day. With the Vikings win and the Detroit loss to the Jacksonville Jaguars, I would just be on cloud 9. Tied for first place in the division.
Mm-hmm.
Half a game out, excuse me.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm taking Detroit here too. Let's hope not, Connor. We'll get to our game here in a minute. But the big division matchup this week, the Green Bay Packers going into the shit show in Chicago to take on the Bears.
Like I said last week, the Bears aren't going anywhere anytime soon. It's just going to continue burning over there in Chicago, and I called it. I did. I mean, I know a lot of people have seen it with how Caleb's playing this year too. So
yeah,
I don't see any.
The stuff we talked about with Caleb Williams to start the season is coming true. I mean, it's.
And then the coaching. I mean, it's just not. It's ineptitude over there right now.
Mm-hmm.
So no, Chicago's going to lose to Green Bay.
Yeah. There was
that's what I said last week, Drew. The Bears aren't winning another game this year.
Yeah, I think New England was their best chance to win for the next several weeks at least, and but I saw an interesting stat here earlier in the week. When after they drafted Caleb Williams, they also drafted Iowa's #1 offensive weapon from last year, the punter. His name escapes me at the top right at the moment, but Caleb Williams had made the comment that, you're not going to have to punt much around here, whatever it is. Right now, their punter has more punt yards than Caleb Williams has total yards through 10 weeks out of the season. It's like 2,400 or 2,400 yards punting, and Caleb Williams has like 2,100 yards of total offense.
I think Williams has a talent, but his mechanics are just so god awful.
Torrey Taylor, thanks, Ant. Yep.
The talent and the mentality and the mechanics just aren't a good mix right now for Caleb Williams.
Yeah. And that was some of the stuff we talked about with Williams before. The talent, he's got talent.
Yeah,
but he can't handle adversity well, and
The mental aspect and the mechanics. His mechanics are so bad. Teams are just eating his play alive.
Yeah, and I mean, if anything, Chicago it's a hotbed for adversity. So he's struggling. The team is struggling. They just fired their offensive coordinator, and I don't know that the guy that they brought in is going to do anything to fix this. I just hope that Green Bay doesn't beat them so badly that Eberflus gets fired, after this game, because I still want him coaching next week when we play.
I mean, that very well could be it. And, yeah, I hear exactly what you're saying, because a lot of times when you get these interim head coaches, you get that honeymoon phase. And all of a sudden, there's a spark. So, yeah, I don't want to see that either. But
yeah,
this very well could be. I mean, his days are numbered in Chicago, regardless, in my opinion. So,
yeah, the only question is whether or not he makes it to the end of the season, I think. But
yeah,
and I think there could be a little bit of a bump this week with the new offensive coordinator, just because like you said, they get that head coach bump. You kind of do it sometimes with the new coordinator too, because
if Green Bay goes out and loses this game, that tells you a lot about Green Bay. Then
it does. Sure. It absolutely does. But I think Chicago is just too much of a mess right now. I think Green Bay wins this game. So, and
their defense is starting to kind of fall off too in Chicago.
Yeah,
it started out really hot, but now they're starting to come back down to earth.
Mm-hmm. Well, Montez Sweat has been hurt, and they've had guys in the secondary that have been hurt, and
the fact that the offense isn't holding their own isn't helping out there either defensively. No. So I mean, everybody gets tired. I mean, but you seen it last year with us, gassed by the time the fourth quarter came around.
Yep. All right, so then with that, of course, we have then the main event, Minnesota at Tennessee, noon on Sunday.
This is like last week. There's no reason at all that we lose this game. There's no reason why we should lose this game. Everything points in the direction of us winning this game, and we should win this game. I'm going to pick with us on an honest level. I mean, I think anybody else would agree to. Minnesota should win this game. Hopefully we can go out there and put a 3-score plus win hanging on the Titans, but there's no reason we can't win this game and why we shouldn't.
No. And realistically, if we lose this game, I don't believe it's because the Titans beat us. I think it's because we beat us.
Yeah,
that's it. And if we lose this game, then that opens up a whole lot of questions. This is a game, and we said it last week. I know it didn't come to pass, but this is a team that you should go out there and you should absolutely curb stomp.
Yeah. And many years we've played down to opponents.
Yep. That's been a staple of Minnesota Vikings football for decades. Doesn't matter who the coach is.
KOC, that goes beyond Mike Zimmer. That goes beyond Brad Childress. But yeah, who's he got first? I'm going to go Aaron Jones. When was the last time Aaron Jones even scored a rushing touchdown?
Yeah, well, I think he's got 3 this year is it. So a rushing touchdown would be good to hit here. Just to be different, I'm going to Northvius has Van Ginkel.
That'd be great.
Sam Darnold catches his own tip pass like Brad Johnson. Van Ginkel is a good option. I think it very well could be a defensive touchdown right off the get-go. I'll put let's go Cam Bynum pick 6.
Nice defensive touchdowns, guys. I like that. Oliver's been kind of a touchdown machine the last couple of weeks, so
he has.
Either if it was Oliver.
Oliver's a good pick as well.
Last time Aaron Jones got a touchdown was against the Lions. Thanks, Drew.
Yeah, that was a receiving touchdown, though. I think wasn't it? If I remember correctly, I think that was a receiving touchdown. But anyway, so since everybody's been talking about it in the chat all night long, along with it,
let's do ass whoopings against people since Dennis Green was here as head coach.
Yeah,
in the one year that we had Brett Favre.
Mm-hmm. Let's throw one more in the predictions here for the night, since everybody's been talking about it in the chat room. Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. Who you got?
I gotta go Tyson. He's my favorite boxer of all time. I was talking to you about before the show. I love how he has just evolved as a person. You know, he's came a long way from his past and where he's at right now, and just the love that he has to share with the world now, that compared to what the hate he had earlier in his life for the world, compared to the love that he has now, and just the overall evolution as Tyson as a person has been amazing. But him as a boxer, baddest man on the planet, my favorite, like I said, my favorite boxer of all time. I can't not go with Mike Tyson here. Try going and knocking Jake Paul the fuck out.
Yeah, I can't stand Jake Paul. I think he's an annoying son of a bitch and needs to get knocked down a couple pegs. Now, I see everybody saying, this fight is staged. It's, Tyson's in it for the money, so he's going to take a fall and whatever all else. I don't see, and to your point, Tyson is much more mellow and stuff than he used, but look at that guy in the training. He's still freaking jacked at 58 years old.
Ferocious.
And, I think with Tyson, in his zen and everything else, just because he's that way now doesn't mean that old shit's still not buried within him someplace. And I think
Proto's got it perfect down there.
Yeah, I think you're right there. Drew likes the ring girls. All that could take, I think, is Paul to land one or two good hits, and you awaken the beast. And I think Tyson could just say,
sleep.
"What's that?"
Or you put him to sleep.
Yeah, but
hopefully that's not it. I want Tyson to win this match.
I do too, but I think Tyson,
Jake Paul.
I think the animal could awaken within Tyson and he'll just say, "Fuck it, I don't need the money," and just knock him out cold. But Tyson
Northeast made a good point there with Oliver. Coming out of college, he was a great pass catching tight end.
Yeah.
He just kind of got used as a blocker in the NFL.
Well,
but the dude has hands. The dude can catch. I mean, then he's fucking a brick shit house at the tight end position. He's like retired.
The main reason he got the reputation as a blocker is because he was playing with Lamar Jackson. I mean,
yeah, and but the dude was a pass receiving
in
tight
college.
He
was, yeah.
But anyways, who's your pick for Tyson and Paul?
I'm taking Tyson. I'm not. Like I said, I can't stand Jake Paul. I'm not going to pick him. And I want to see the old Iron Mike make one last appearance and just freaking annihilate him.
I think everybody does. There's very, very few people that want to see Paul go out there and win this match.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you, this match is gonna get millions, maybe even 1 billion views when it all is said and done at the end of the night. People tuning in. This is money. Very smart for money on these guys' part that partaking in this fight. So
yeah, and I saw somebody make a good comment earlier today when I was looking up on some of the stuff. There's a lot of money on the line here for Tyson, but if he goes out and knocks Paul out,
when has Tyson ever given a fuck?
No, but from a money standpoint, yeah, he's going to lose out on that money, but he's going to make that by start getting on all the talk shows and the, making the media rounds that, he hasn't done for years.
I think this is personal with Tyson, honestly. I think there's more to it than just the money aspect. I think
there is too.
I think Tyson really wants to see what he has left, and to see if there's anything else in there. One more last hurrah, go out and kind of cement his legacy here, and it's not going to ruin his legacy, but it could definitely add to it. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we got off a little bit too much there. This isn't Boxing Uncensored, it's Vikings Uncensored, but with that,
exactly, Tyson isn't hurting for money. He was at one point, but not anymore.
Yeah. Anyway, that's all we've got for tonight. We've been going here a little over an hour, almost an hour and 10 minutes now. So I think we will call it a night. We'll let everybody go watch the fight later if you so choose. But once again, thank you everybody for joining us. As always, great conversation in the chat, great knowledge, great questions, comments, everything else. Like always, thank you guys so very much. We couldn't do this without you. Shout out to the Filipino fan club. Shout out to my beautiful wife upstairs watching. I think she's watching anyway. And with that, let's go to Tennessee this weekend. Let's get a win. Let's keep that win total tallying up here. Let's get to 8-2 and keep the drive alive. So with that, take us out of here, Lance.
Short and sweet. Let's win. We'll see y'all next week. Same time. Or no, not quite. We'll get back to you. Ryno will let you know on Ryno's rants what time we'll be going next week. But yeah, let's go out and get that W on Sunday. Let's get that win. Aubrey Millie, if you're out there watching, Dad loves and misses you. Skol, guys.
Have a good weekend, everybody.